Welcome everyone to Good Morning Cannabis. I have my friends Josh or Joshua, for saying his full name, and Adam. They're going to share with you kind of what they're doing. They are really smart attorneys, I believe. I believe they're attorneys. They look smart to me. And they're going to kind of focus a little bit on something I know everyone wants to learn and know about the great state of New York, the Empire State, and what the regulations are for the new cannabis regs. So Josh and Adam, maybe talk a little bit about yourselves and then go right into the topic.
Want me to start off? Sure, go for it. Hi, everyone. So as Todd pointed out, my name is Josh, and my buddy Adam over here. We are attorneys at Goodwin Procter. I'm a partner in the technology practice, meaning that I focus on working with emerging and growth stage as well as late stage technology companies. Think of technology as really industry agnostic. So working with companies that are, SaaS companies, fintech, advertising tech, as well as highly regulated businesses such as, beverage, cannabis, gaming, and sports fantasy. Adam here is an associate in our litigation practice, though he's really my guru when it comes to cannabis regulatory matters. So he's probably going to do a lot of the talking about what changes we saw last month that came down from the OCM. Real quick on Goodwin and our practice. We have 2,000 attorneys here. We work with like I said, with companies across all various industries, but more specifically, we have a pretty robust cannabis practice. Our cannabis practice is cross-disciplinary, so we work on financings, work on M&A, IP protection, as well as governmental and cannabis regulatory matters. We have a deep and comprehensive knowledge at the firm of cannabis and the cannabis industry and the legal and operational nuances that make it unique. And so, folks like Adam are really the ones who make our practice unique. So Adam, we had, what was it, on May 11th, so just over a month ago now, New York came down with a few updates, some significant changes to the adult use cannabis regulations. Do you want to walk through a few of those changes that came down?
Sure, Josh. And yeah, significant is the key word here. As some of you may know, New York last year released proposed adult use regulations for cannabis. There were a lot of issues with those regulations, and these May revisions make significant changes, provide a little more clarity as to what we can expect. And the OCM has made clear that the final regulations will look pretty similar, if not exactly the same as these revised regulations. The first largest change we've really seen is applying to the multi-state operators. People always want to know what's happening with the multi-state operators. New York so far has only allowed their conditional adult use retail dispensary licenses to go online. There's about a dozen of them currently operating and selling throughout New York State. Many more have been licensed but are not currently open. But key is that they're medical operators currently able to sell adult use cannabis. And these regulations really do a lot to address that and get them into the market sooner than previously announced. The prior regulations anticipated a 3-year delay before the registered organizations, which is the legal term, official term for the medical operators, could enter the adult use market. That 3-year timeline looks like it's out the window. The first registered organization dispensary will be allowed to become adult use by the end of this year if these regulations are implemented as proposed, with 2 more by the middle of next year, allowing for them to have 3 adult use dispensaries total. Registered organizations can currently have 4 medical dispensaries, so there will still be 1 medical only location for each of these registered organizations. There will be an application process for that to convert to adult use, and a licensing fee. Previously, it was anticipated to be $20 million upfront.
Wow.
That has also changed. And instead, it's now paid on a rolling basis to spread out that hit, with another provision that the balance may not be due if the New York market doesn't reach a certain size. This is pretty much to ensure that these registered organizations don't go under due to fees if the New York market isn't as big as anticipated. And those fees are going to be used to help fund the shortfall in funding for the social equity conditional use licenses. It's been in the news a bit that the New York State's had trouble acquiring the funding to help these conditional licensees get real estate. And they made clear at the most recent OCM hearing that the plan is to use these fees to help cover that shortfall, get the conditional licensees into dispensaries a bit faster, and hopefully lead to a much more vibrant New York market. So that's the biggest change, but it's not the only big change.
Yeah, as you're going to hear as we're working through these, there were a lot of really strong changes by the OCM. It really, I'm going to use the word improved significantly what the regulatory scheme looked like leading up to the meeting last month.
Definitely. Another big issue that was present in the first round of regulations was that these registered organizations, if they wanted to enter the adult use market, could not have out-of-state investments in other cannabis businesses unless they forwent any dispensary operations within the state. And as you can imagine, I believe all of the registered organizations currently have out-of-state investments in other cannabis operators. So that regulation would have prevented any of them from having adult use dispensaries. Well, that is gone. The general adult use dispensary licenses for your typical applicants still have restrictions on out-of-state investments, but the medical operators, if they enter the adult use market, can keep their out-of-state investments. And that we believe that was implemented so that these registered organizations could come online faster,
Right.
Because New York wants to get this market operating a bit quicker than it has been.
I think one of the big points on that, though, is we still have limitations on the passive investors. So they've broadened the scope of who can be a passive investor, but they still have those limitations built in, to a percentage of ownership in outside licenses.
Definitely. And in fact, they actually lowered the threshold for what constitutes a passive investor in these registered organizations, so that people won't have their hands in as many pots, so to speak. They really want to try to keep the market from consolidating too much. And so they've lowered the limit for passive investors only for these registered organizations entering the adult use market, while maintaining a slightly higher threshold for the other operators.
Which is really great because it now allows for more capital to be infused into the industry here.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So for news that are more relevant to those who are not a multi-state operator or registered organization, great news was that New York introduced provisional licensing, which is very similar to New Jersey's conditional licensing program, in that someone hoping to enter the market can apply for a provisional license without having secured real estate first. This will then allow the state to either approve or deny their provisional license, and gives them a year to go secure this real estate. They can use their provisional license to show they're a safer bet for investors, and hopefully get some decent investments so they got open up within a year, but they're not necessarily putting out that large capital outlay before they even know if they're receiving a license.
Excellent.
I think, three other points that came out of the new regulations that we'll highlight briefly. We have the limited retail consumption areas was introduced into the regs. New delivery regs were built out, and then a big one that Todd, you and I were just discussing a few moments ago is the event regulations that allow for the potential for for cannabis sales at events. I think there's a lot to be built, to a lot of regulation that's going to come out over the next few months on all three fronts, particularly the events front. Do you want to discuss the delivery piece for a few moments?
Sure. So the new regulations do impose some restrictions on delivery, but they also make quite clear exactly how it's going to function, which up until now, the only guidance we had for delivery was for the conditional licenses delivering their own merchandise. This would apply to all delivery drivers, and really it anticipates more of a third-party delivery service, more similar to food delivery in New York. This, limits the types of vehicles cannabis can be delivered through, where cannabis can be delivered. So you can't have it delivered to a public park, for example, or to a school, a daycare, typical regulations we would expect. One of the more, not necessarily surprising restrictions, but a significant restriction, I should say, is that each of these delivery services can only have 25 full-time employees delivering cannabis. So we're not going to see a single delivery service dominating the New York market, such as Seamless in the food delivery or Uber Eats. There's also limits as to how much cannabis these drivers can actually carry and how much has to be paid for in advance. And these are more to protect the driver's safety as well as prevent the risk of diversion.
Anything else, or I guess we can pass it off to Todd and see if there was anything that came to mind as we were talking through some of this.
Anything on cultivation that came as a surprise or a big change?
I don't think there were any surprises to the cultivation, other than the creation of a new provisional license for cultivators who've yet to secure their real estate. But the vast majority of the changes did address new areas that weren't previously defined, such as delivery, limited retail consumption areas, and the registered organizations and how they were going to enter the market. In general, the annual licenses remained relatively untouched.
So guys, fantastic. If folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
We're pretty Googleable.
You're Googleable.
We're Googleable.
Is that a verb or is that an adjective?
I'll leave it to the imagination.
Okay.
So you can search for under Goodwin, Joshua Eisenson, or Adam Horowitz. Our email and our phone number is listed right on our website, so you can absolutely find us there.
Yeah, you call us, email us, we'll get back to you if we don't answer the phone right away. We're pretty easy to reach.
Well, then I'm going to thank you both for being part of Good Morning Cannabis and kind of telling us what the new regs are saying, and look forward to having you again on the show in maybe a month or two, so you can update us again.
That'd
Definitely.
be great.
That'd be awesome. Thanks again for having us.
Thank you.
Guys, be well, and we'll talk soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.